I'm Travis Alabanza. I'm a UK-based artist, and I imagine that we're talking because you live in Boston, and I'm bringing my show Burgerz to Boston from April in April. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's maybe like the impulse of like at a party when it's like, oh, my other friend is gay too. And then they push you together and you're like, oh.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yes, I think that's happening too.
yeah, and I'm Ezra Furman and I live in Somerville, which is part of the Boston area. It's Boston. And I make music and I've started to put out some new music recently, and reawaken that part of the public facing self.
Yes.
It's stressing me out a lot, to be honest.
Do you do it independently, or do you have like a group of people supporting you to help you out? Or
I have a record label. In fact, now I have two record labels, one in Europe and one everywhere else, I guess, or I can't remember how it's divided. And I have a manager, a booking agent. There's a little team, and me and my band are best pals, and we're always convening about what we should do. But it's such a chaotic job, this one. I'm like running this little business, and I get the impression I don't know. Do you have like a world of people who are working on your stuff with you?
I have a world of people. It's as soon as I asked it, I was like, we're never really in Silas, are we? But I have a world of people, but
Right.
it still always feels like sometimes you're holding it all more. When you're out there like pushing it through. When you said like motorcycle, I was like thinking, this is like I do it like year on, year off. So this is my year of being like doing and releasing stuff, and I'm like halfway through and I'm already looking forward to hibernation like again. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to like not be seen or perceived by anyone for a while.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to handle.
But I was listening to your stuff today, and like, how long have you been doing this for? Because you have like quite a catalog of stuff.
Yeah, I guess I first put out a record when I was 20, or even 19.
And now at the age of 21, judging by your skin, being fresh in the music scene.
No, I'm a wretched old crone. I'm 35 years old, in fact. And so I've been doing this for a long time. And yeah, I must like it. Because I keep going, but like, yeah, you and I maybe, I don't know. I was sort of like slowly and fearfully coming out as queer throughout my being a performer, and I don't know. I'm sort of interested in the difference between. I feel like you've sort of been known to be queer as long as you've been performing and as long as you've been facing the public. And I don't know, sometimes I wonder, like, I don't know if the question is like, is it harder to sort of like be a queer artist from the jump, or I don't know, about maybe the question is not harder, but what are the differences between like my slow, sloppy coming out in public? And
we love slow and sloppy.
Yeah,
we want more slow and sloppy.
That's how I do everything.
Yeah, everything is far too quick and dry. It wasn't that it was. I don't know anything else. I think that I was really young as well when I started like working at a scale that maybe I was too young to be working at. And I think that if I had the tools I had now and the knowledge I have now, and maybe also the confidence in my craft that I have now, I would have maybe relied more on my craft rather than the talking points around my identity.
Uh-huh.
And so I think I'm at this weird stage where like I'm 8 years into like making work as like my job, whatever that means. Not that that builds value to it, but like 8 years of only just doing this, right? And I feel like only now am I starting to having to like, someone will go at one of my shows and be like, oh, you're actually good. Like, oh, and I'll be like, yeah, I just didn't realize. I thought you were kind of like a talking soapbox. And
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm at that stage in my career now where like I'm having to kind of not undo, but like be really thankful for the ways that my queerness has brought me an audience and support. And like I had to do it DIY because at the beginning, because none of those places wanted to like hire me. But now I feel like I'm having to maybe undo some of those preconceptions about like what it means to be like out as a gender non-conforming person from the get-go with an opinion. Because
Yeah.
because I feel like now it's about how do you get these places to trust that you can write about something else, right? Like I've been touring Burgerz for, it's weird because obviously I'm in Boston to do a show that has existed since 2018, and I'm making loads of other work that's coming out in the UK and Europe. And it's been hard to get people to want to commission me to write about things that they don't necessarily see as overtly queer or trans. I obviously see it as deeply connected to queerness and transness, but unless it's like got it in the copy, they're like, that must be something straight. Travis is writing for straight people. But that's what I plan to do in 10 years when I'm going to do a sloppy transition to straight and cisness. That's
Oh,
my
yeah.
master plan. Yeah. That's my master plan.
Well, yeah.
So I'm
It's
just
time to
that's the
level up.
exclusive. Yeah. But I'm interested in how did you find that your process of making music shifted when your identity was shifted too? Or did it?
Oh my God, I was just so slowed down by being closeted. Like it was just, I was spending a lot more energy on being nervous about like what I could say or how I could say it or what it meant. And I don't know, I just like, it just was like a distraction that I was afraid to be found out, I guess. Slowed me down. I mean, now like queer phobia is what slows me down. I'm worrying about that. But yeah, I guess like in a way, like I guess for me making art, like it's kind of about being in touch with my soul, like what actually concerns me on the deepest level. And I think that as soon as I started to be out and more in touch with myself in general, I became more in touch with like what are those deep, urgent concerns and interests. And I just got way better at writing and performing, I think. I mean, there's also just like the steady, I was so amateur when I started and was very like, I disdained being in tune, you know?
What do you miss about the amateur days?
Oh my God, almost nothing.
Okay.
Like so much better now than it was 10 years ago or so. I'm just happier and better at what I do. I guess I don't know, sometimes the like extremely low standards for what I would do, like I would just literally play any show anywhere, do anything for anyone who would listen to me at all. I was like, you don't need to pay me. Why would I need to get paid? And that sucked, but also I guess sometimes if I can recover something that I'm a little nostalgic about, it's like sometimes that would just afford you such a strange, cool experience in somebody's basement, or like just like some intimate, like zero stakes kind of shows where like it felt more like anything could happen because nobody's watching, sort of. But I don't know.
You'll take the trade. You'll take the trade-off. You prefer it now. You'll take the
yeah,
trade-off.
and also I just think I find other ways to recover that spirit. You know, it's still like I don't know. It's still all kind of raw and a little bit out of control for me, which I like. Yeah. Do you feel like a process of like professionalization, or like I mean, like there's this sort of creeping tide sometimes, I think particularly with trans people, like of like maybe we're getting more and more like presentable or something, like that, like, and I fear it. I fear the creeping tendency to respectability or something. But do you think you're like in that process going one way or the other with that since in the last 8 years?
Well, I definitely missed, like, I used to like get cis people up on stage in clubs and like throw up on them, and I definitely can't do that anymore because
throw up on them?
Yeah, like kind of consensually, for the record, consensually. I mean, like, kind
like
of
on purpose.
Yeah, like I would like I used to do this piece because I started in the club, so I used to be like and I guess that's different in the you've been to Europe and UK and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they have like you're like I like looked and like every single UK queer person I know follows you, and like it was like I like texted a few of my friends. I was like, hey, I see that you follow like them online, and they were like, oh my god, like yeah, the UK like fucks with you, which you don't need me to tell you. You're like, yeah, bitch, I know. But in the UK queer clubs, which I'm learning is kind of different to the US, like, you know, most of our queer clubs also have like quite an active like live performance scene behind it. You'll like go and see weird performance art at the same time as then going to like a club art thing, and a lot of the time in our queer bars. And so I started, I mean, in my opinion, less so now. I think Drag Race has kind of shifted that in our clubs a bit. But you still get a lot of lip syncs, but before it used to be like weird shit happening all the time. And so that's how I started. I didn't start in like playwriting or theatre. I didn't think I was going to be like a playwright or whatever. So I used to do loads of weird shit in clubs, and one of them was I'm lactose intolerant, and I used to invite cisgender people up on stage and ask them questions about their gender, and then like drink milk every time they bored me with the answer, and eventually that would equal like throwing up onto their feet. And then asking them if that was their desired response, and calling them a monstrosity, and then asking them to sit down. So I miss doing that a lot. I can't. I could now, but I don't.
Yeah.
Someone else, I'm sure, is doing that. You know.
I don't know.
But I think that. Look, I think nowadays we're all making huge judgments about people just from their online thing, and for me, online, I present like this thing, and in my shows and my art is where I can still challenge and say fuck this. Like, I'm not here to be respectable. I'm not here for us. Like, it was interesting you said like art is about, for you use art to like find your like inner soul stuff, and in some ways I do, but that art I actually don't normally put out on stage. I would say the stuff that ends up on stage are the things that I feel too afraid to challenge in my day-to-day conversations, and too afraid to challenge in others and myself on like the internet, right? Or like at a dinner table. And so I find that my theatre shows are still the place where we can be messy and dangerous. And it's interesting with Burgerz because I think it's why I'm so glad that it's had a bit of a life, because it's meant that now there's like trans reviewers of it, whereas originally it was just kind of cis theatre critics. And, you know, everyone would use the word inspirational for it, which I think was the biggest insult I could possibly have towards it. And brave and all those kind of cliche things. And then it wasn't until I read a trans person's review of it that said, this was really hard for me. I disagree with a lot of it. And I was like, yes, thank God.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was really refreshing to watch a piece of art that felt like it was bad. Like, not in terms of its quality, but in terms of what it believed. And they were like this kind of white 55-year-old trans woman, and we're from a different time and a different world. And they were like, this challenged me and I disagree with it. And I was like, thank fuck, because we were all getting to this point where with transness, and I get it because it's being,
yeah,
we want to make ourselves feel more understandable. But I think I go to art to be like, I don't think understanding is the goal. I don't think that like understanding is a prerequisite for like care. And yeah, I've started calling myself a cross-dresser again now.
nice.
Instead of trans, really. And I still feel trans between my friends, but I think the reason is because I'm just like, oh, I need you to still know that this thing isn't for you. That we still can't package this. And so I'm really enjoying the retro feeling of calling myself a cross-dresser.
Yeah. Well, I know it's hard to know what this art stuff is for when the noise of like of oppression and death is so loud, you know. You're sort of just like I feel like everyone feels the impulse to be like, I should be allowed to live, and then like that's what we're sort of all end up saying as artists, and that's very boring. That's obvious. That's to anyone with any moral sense. It's obvious. Like, I don't know, trans lives should be better, and we shouldn't have so much young death, and we should be messing with the I don't know, getting under the hood a little bit. And yeah, I appreciate, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I went on it took a long time for me to just say some level 1 normal stuff about being trans, you know. It just like took me a long time to be out. And also I didn't like want to, I don't know, I guess I had learned over the years, like the more you tell anyone about your life, the more they're gonna just like, there's gonna be a waterfall of judgment and negativity on you. So I wasn't like saying, I was calling myself trans in private long before I was saying it in front of the internet and such. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't care about legibility either. I guess I started out illegible, you know, and I was like, I'm not calling myself anything. I'm not in a category that I understand yet, and I'm not gonna help you understand. I'm just gonna look like this and be like this. And you, I don't know, you have to let me. And also, like, I'm gonna be good enough at, I don't know, my band and my songs are gonna be so good that you're gonna have to just deal with me if you want the goods. That's hockey.
I want to go back to like, I mean, this is like quite a pivot, so you can be like, fuck off, we've only just met on Zoom. Don't ask me this. And they can edit the fuck off. They could even edit it so they could replay it loads and loads of times so that the whole interview is you just saying, fuck off. Talk about illegible. But you said that art was about finding your like inner truth for you. With your new releases, what truths do you think you're speaking to?
Well, I noticed that I'm We just met.
That's why I said you can say fuck off and we go to
Oh,
the next
no,
question.
I guess, but I have my first thought, which I know is true, is I noticed I'm writing a lot less in the first person, which I used to pretty much only write first person singular kind of lyrics, pretty much. And now it's well, it's still first person, but it's first person plural, and it's a lot of we stuff. It's a lot of us stuff, and I think that's like, I don't know. I'm feeling the strong. I don't know. As I mature, I'm feeling a strong pull away from the sort of like lone genius, lone wolf model I was sold. I'm not calling myself a genius at all. I'm like, it's like sort of marketed to fans of art and practitioners of art that like that's what you should be. You should sort of like go off alone and hone your vision. Maybe that's sort of like culturally and economically and a bunch of ways pushed on us also. And I'm just like, I want my community. I want my friends and my family, chosen family, my sort of my communities, my ancestral traditions, Judaism, you know, continually remade. I don't know, like I'm just into plurality, community, and interdependence rather than independence. And that's what I've been, that's a lot of what I've been writing about lately. Yeah, and I guess also like I'm more and more focused on like, I think I want to be of service more than I want to express myself. It used to be more about like, I've got these big feelings, they've got to be told, which like that's always, that's still, that's thrust, it will always be there, I think. And that use, like that's always a useful thing to do. But I don't know, I guess I'm just seeing a potential for communality and sort of like giving art as sort of like a public weapon, a communal weapon, to be used by whoever needs it.
Yeah.
Or if not weapon, maybe it's a bit of medicine or just like kind of a public good, a way of caring and caring for and protecting the people I feel like deeply connected to, whether I know them or not.
No, that was beautiful. I'm glad I asked the question, and I'm glad that you didn't tell me to fuck off.
Well, somebody else I might. But no, I guess I'm curious to fire back at you in retaliation about, I mean, I don't know. First of all, I'm sort of fascinated by your year on, year off model. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure what I want to say about that yet. But let me fire the question back at you. Like, what do you framed it differently, not as sort of like soul exploration, but like messing with things. And I don't know, that's how I heard it anyway.
Yeah.
So what are you messing with recently or leaning forward towards? I don't know if you're like writing right now or.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I'm here to do Burgerz, but I wrote that in 2017.
Yeah.
And I still think it's really present and it clearly is still working because we're seeing it. I'm not messing with the same things that I was messing with in Burgerz. You know, Burgerz was about kind of messing with who gets to be seen as a victim, and also messing with how far we can push an audience, right? Like in my early work, it was all about like how far we can push each other and like how far strangers can like go together. And that is definitely what Burgerz is about. Like,
Yeah.
it's the exploration of like, is this okay for us as strangers to go here? By go here, I mean we only just cook a burger. That is the only thing that happens.
Yeah. And it involves a different person on stage with you every night, like an audience member, right? So
yeah, every night I cook a burger with a volunteer from the audience that doesn't know that they're volunteering until they do, you know, and it's not pre-decided. Yeah, and it's wild, you know, like it goes to a lot of different places, and I still have fun because of that bit, but I would say that the politics around it, my language would be very different now. But I kind of like that because every time I go on stage and do it, I'm like, wow, I was thinking this at this time, and now I would have communicated it like that. Now I'm writing, I'm far more interested now in less talking outwards and how can I use my like, because when I've made Burgerz, I didn't have like I had a platform, but I didn't have like access to the arts. Like I had to, Burgerz was rejected by like 8 theaters before we like found its home. And it was only because it did really well. And now people want to be like, hey, we want to make work. And I'm really sitting with that difference of like having to knock down doors and having doors opened for you. And so now I'm kind of less interested in messing around with what other people, the audience, people in power think, and more in like, how do I mess with the idea of a job offer? So a good example of that is that recently I just got offered a commission at a really big posh theatre, like it's on the West End in London, and they're called the Royal Court. So they're like, they got royal in their name. And they're like, we just want you to do a play, like pitch us your idea. And I was like, okay, but I don't want any actors in it. I only want to hire people from the clubs. And they were like, what? I said, well, the whole play and the main space has to be full of people from the clubs. I don't want any professional actors. I don't want anyone that's been on a stage before. I don't want anyone from drama school. I want every single person that's cast and behind the scenes to be from the queer London club scene, because they have had the last 2 years destroy all their incomes. And for me, that is messing with who we see as worthy of going on what stages, and who we see worthy as like high art and low art. And in England, theatre is such a respected tradition that you can't mess with. And so now what I'm messing with is the form of theatre itself. It feels like, how do we take these respectable stages and change who we give respect to? And for me, that's exciting because I think I also have changed. 4 years ago, the landscape of art, even in 4 years, the landscape of trans art has changed in the UK. I feel like 5 years ago, because we weren't really on as many stages, everything we did was about confessional. Like Burgerz is a confessional piece. Here I am on stage, I'm going to confess to you everything. But now I'm like, I'm not really interested in being like, here's these trans people, trans. Well, you take people from the club world, of course, most of them are going to be trans and gender non-conforming because we run the club scene. So I'm about to hire probably the most trans people that theatre has ever had on their stage. Well, we just officially hired them, we signed the contracts last week. And the story has nothing to do with trans in the copy. It has nothing to do with any of that. But you're just going to have to sit there and like watch them on that stage. And you're going to, instead of paying £3 and a stamp to maybe tip them because you've decided to go to a hen do or an engagement party and you want to taste queer things, you've had to pay the ticket price that you pay to see Shakespeare there next month. But you're seeing, like, for me, the best performers in the world, these club legends. So yeah, that's what I'm messing with at the moment.
Well, no, it sounds like also sort of a shifting from like, let's hear from an individual trans person about being trans, to like, let's just, I don't know, let's just take a sample of our actual culture and the multiplicity of us and bring it to a place that's like not its own little like ghetto, not its own little, like we only see each other there. It's like something I've been thinking, there's just, as always, there's some people in my life who like don't get what's going on with me. And I've been trying to, I'm like, I can tell you more about me, of course, and like, let's talk about that. There's also like, you just need more exposure to like my culture. And actually what I'm trying to share with you is not only stuff about me or what I like need my gender to be for this or that reason. It's actually like the culture, this mode of being, this community is such a big part of what has been like setting me free about being queer. And yeah, so that might also be like, you know, part of me wanting to shift from individual focus to like community focus.
Yeah. Wow.
It's probably also yeah. Pandemic
Time, and I have one question I want to ask before we go.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to ask, what live shows are you looking forward to doing that are coming up? I saw that you're coming to Scotland.
Yeah, that was just announced today, I think.
I'm in Scotland at the same time, so I'm going to come.
Oh,
yeah,
Edinburgh.
Yeah, I'm at Edinburgh. I'm not there for the whole time, but I'm there for some of it, and it's when I'm there.
Oh,
so yeah. I'm going to come. Are you allowed to, are you doing any other Europe stuff? What's the tea? Where are you going? What are you excited about doing?
Yeah. Some stuff not yet announced, but there's going to be a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I'm playing at the Green Man Festival, which is...
Oh, I'm there too.
Oh, you are?
It looks like we're just following each other around. I'm going to be at Green Man. Ah!
I love it.
Are you staying for the whole weekend, or are you just in and out?
I might be in and out. I think I'm playing on Sunday. But you know, in and out.
Okay, I'm gonna come. I'll come find you.
There's always some downtime.
Right.
In spurts, and then yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm playing at Stand and Calling also. It's in London, and yeah, mostly I've like made a bunch of new music, and I'm excited to be sharing it.
What song are you most excited to see live? Like, see the response to live?
Whoa. I don't know.
Fuck off, Travis.
Yeah, I don't. I guess I would say. I'm just excited to be in places with a bunch of people. We've played a few shows. The first play we played 8 or 10 shows in March, and it was the first shows we did for over 2 years, and it was like ecstatic. It was I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot my love and sort of need for that. You must be feeling that too. I'm really excited to come see you for the first time. I've known of you and heard about Burgerz and heard about you for a couple of years now, and I kind of leapt at the opportunity to have this little conversation and come see you perform.
Yeah, you know, as much as I said Burgerz is old work, it's new every night because of what happens, and I'm proud of it, and I'm also proud of how it's new for everyone else when they see it, even if it's old for me. And you know, it's a show that kind of did change my trajectory in my life, so I always feel quite like proud. And also, I've never done a theatre show in the US, which feels like wild because every other country said yes, and it's been really hard to like get my theatre stuff over here, so I'm just kind of excited. I spent 2 summers in Boston, working at Cambridge Ridge Latin School and
that's like 3 blocks away from where I am right now.
Yeah, I know Somerville well. I know I think I'm going to bump into some old flames in Somerville, because it was quite close to Tufts University. I spent a lot of time there.
school, actually.
I thought you went to school? Oh, okay, real. Yeah, so I used to want to be a teacher. And so I did like a teaching program at Cambridge Online because I like didn't want to do it in the UK. So it's weird that like Boston's the place I'm doing Burgerz. I'm excited for that. Some of my old students are coming. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And now knowing that you're a Green Man, I'm even more excited because I'm doing a lot of festivals this year, but I'm in and outing. But I picked Green Man as the one to like stay for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Like enjoy music.
Okay.
And so this is this universe being like, you picked the right one because I get to see you on a Sunday and my show's on a Saturday, so I'll be relaxed and be able to be drunk. So perfect. Ezra, I can't wait to take this conversation off of Zoom. So I think we've given them enough.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, where are you going to be taking me for dinner when we get for dinner in Boston?
That's a great question. Probably, have you ever had, it's a Scottish place, I think. It's called McDonald's.
I've never heard. Perfect. We'll try that. We'll try that.
Burgers. I know you never get enough of those. Huh?
We'll try that. And on that note, see you then. See you at McDonald's.